Evening in the conference room 2 at City Hall. We'll run the room and introduce ourselves to make sure that we have it. We'll just wait a minute before we do anything. Okay, I would like to call the meeting for the general committee to order for September 13th. Conference room 2. We'll go around the room and introduce ourselves. Mr. Eckenroth, we'll start with you since you're in the back side.
Jesse Eckroth, Chief of Operations. Jason Gallo, Administrative Services.
Mayor Jamie Clary.
Rachel Collins, Alderman.
Tim Waters, Alderman Ward 6.
Andy Gilly, Parks Director.
Timothy Witten, Hendersonville Planning.
Jonathan Hayes, Alderman.
Steve Brown, Alderman Ward 4. Okay, the first thing we have on our agenda is acceptance of our agenda.
Evening, I pass.
So all in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
None opposed. Minutes of our past meeting.
So moved. I'll second it.
Mr. Waters moves, Mr. Hayes seconds it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? No. Ordinance and resolutions. Reading of ordinance 22-22, an ordinance regarding the office of city attorney. Mr. Bradley is leaving us. In a bad way, but in a good way. I think we all know that. And made some revisions to this ordinance just to make it fit a bit better. Just for cleanup purposes, back on the back side where it says, page 7, it says discussion. I believe that workshop was held on August 31st, not October 31st. Is that correct?
Chief of Staff.
That's just since October 30th.
He's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it was-
Okay. So. Ordinance regarding the office of city attorney now therefore be ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, City of Hendersonville, and it proposes a couple changes in the ordinance. So I've had a chance to look at it, read it, questions or discussion. Mr. Waters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I want to say I like what I read. I really did. I know there's others like me, maybe not in this room, who've got questions. I've got questions, but I still like it. I think it's great. I know in my almost 12 years, I think we've reached a milestone in this administration. I really do. In just 2 months, the future looks so much brighter. We got term limits. That's the first time that's ever happened. We followed up on this ordinance. First time since 1991. 31 years. As long as I've been around here. Again, there's so much to discuss, so much to ask, and so much to debate. Mr. Chairman, without objection, I'd like to move with this on the BOMA with our recommendation. I so move. I'll second it.
Do you have any comments, Mr. Hayes?
I do not.
Okay, the only. I don't really have a comment on this. Supervisory wise, we're not changing anything in here. The attorney will still serve at the pleasure of board. Good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thanks. Next, we have a resolution 2022-40. Resolution ratifying the Parks Department Special Event Application Handbook approved by the Parks Board.
So move. I'll second it.
Mr. Waters and Mr. Hayes, Mr. Gilly, you want to address that since you're sitting?
I can, just kind of like we did with our general athletic handbook earlier this year, just updating some policies, updating some fees increases. So everything is in your packet highlighted that's being changed that was in the handbook.
All it does is make us a little bit better, a little bit stronger.
I move approval.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Sorry, I jumped over one. We have a resolution 2022-39. Resolution authorizing the mayor to request grant funds from Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation for project projects. Mr. Gilly, I'm going to defer to you. I've signed off on it. Let you explain it.
Sure, this is part of the first phone call we had as we get ready to sign the contracts for the LPRF grant that we received for $1 million. As you know, we applied for this nearly 2 years ago in our call with TDEC. They are offering a 25% increase in your budget, and they will match 50% of that should you need it. You have to still do the same project that you applied for the grant for. This is them recognizing that prices have increased and they don't want people being hung out to dry, being due the full amount on the hook for that. So this is authorizing the mayor to tell them that if we need those funds, we would like to request them. This is not, if we have to come back and use those, we will have to come to you all with the ordinance to actually appropriate the funds. Hope I explained that properly.
I think so. Fair.
Mr. Gilly suggested, I think it's a good one, that I reach out to the soccer clubs and ask them if they'd be interested in helping us cover that additional amount that we would be on the hook for, especially since it benefits them. And I think did you talk to, Rugby?
Rugby, lacrosse.
Okay. Since they would benefit from this. At this point, both the soccer clubs have said that they've got some other projects that they're pursuing that improve the amenities in the park. But as we get closer, I'll probably go back to them and ask them again.
That's reasonable. I think what we're doing here is basically covering our tail. If we have to have more money, we're not appropriating money. We open the bids and it's got it where we can't afford it. The windows start 2 years now.
Correct.
Yeah.
I appreciate the proactive nature of this, because chances are costs will increase.
It's good. I like it. I just want to be sure I understand. It's for that park only. Drakes Creek Park.
It's for Drakes Creek and Volunteer Park. I mean, I'm sorry, and the rugby park.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
Not volunteer.
no, Drakes Creek and rugby.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I mean, Mr. Chairman.
You good?
Yeah, thank you.
I'm good.
Okay.
Move approval.
Second.
Mr. Hayes and Mr. Waters.
And this will, should you all vote tonight, this will be on the bone
Yeah,
agenda.
I'll make sure they have it in the American Committee. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Okay, other agenda items. I have, well, it's been around a while. I'm talking about our birthday age. I'm talking about being here.
Okay.
Well, maybe our birthday age too, Jim.
We getting up there, son.
I'm getting up there. I'm trying to catch you, but then it's just stroke. I did quite a bit of research the last few months, 2 or 3 months especially. And 2 or 3 things I want to preface. Number one, I appreciate our deer monitoring. We're going to talk about deer monitoring committee meeting and doing what we can. Over the past several years, we've met, we made recommendations at one time to the board. That didn't get followed through with, that particular recommendation, did it? We had another survey done just a few years back that showed that our deer population had went from, I don't remember the percentages, but from 100% to 20%, which I didn't have a lot of faith in that survey. I'll just say personally, I feel like I drive through a minefield every evening and most every morning and sometimes during the day. I've not hit a mine yet, except coming back from Jimmy Buffett 3 months ago. I had 2 mines hit me broadside in front of Clarendale. That's not even the area that I see a lot of deer in. So that excelled my involvement in looking at numbers. So all I'm going to do is give you some numbers as a committee, and so we can discuss it. I don't know that these numbers have not been put out there before. So pass those around, John. I think I've got enough for everybody Ripley here and Bowman tonight to have one. Here'd you get one? Probably ought to give him one.
Oh, now we have many.
Thank you. You need more.
Okay,
Okay. You need more for later.
I think I've got enough. Yeah, I'm good. Because four of us have them here. The numbers that you see there, deer carcass removal. In January of last year through December of last year, and January of this year through July of this year. That's a total of 202. Now, I'm not real savvy on the computer, so I had to copy and paste it. That's the reason to find it. But a total of 202 deer in that 19-month period was removed for a tune of $45,231, $26,953 in last year's, and we've spent $18,277 this year. And these are figures from our Public Works Department. They're just not pulled out of the air anymore. Thing I want to talk about more than population and safety. We've had, I know some people at our deer committee last meeting, have a lot of people in my neighborhood, and I'm sure we do too. Talk about vegetation, the deer eating my trees or eating my hostas. Or, you know, I'm probably the only guy on Middle Lake Drive that has an electric fence around his hosta garden. But that has made my wife happy, and it's kept the deer out. But I put some numbers together that I think is pretty astonishing a bit. Comparing the first 6 months of 2021 and the first 6 months of 2022, it's 100% increase in carcasses that were picked up. 36 in the first 6 months of 21, 78 in the first 6 months of 22. If that trend would continue, the second 6 months of 2022, it would still be 100% increase. 83 in the second part of 21 and 166 in the second part of 22. In 2021, there were 119 total carcasses removed at the increased rate. 2022, there would be 238 removed. Cost removal by the city in 2021 was $26,590 or $953 and 22,18,277. Projected in the next 6 months would be $17,934. So a total for that period of time, that's 16 months. I'm only working on 16 months on the bottom of numbers. Would be $63,166 that it would cost the city to have the carcasses removed. I think here's the figure that is most interesting. There has been 161 automobile property damage accidents in the 18 months from January 2021 through June 2022 that were worked by HPD units. A lot of these accidents are not reported. I talked to a man last week, spent $3,700, never reported his fender being bent up, just wouldn't did it. So, but a lot of those 202 carcasses came from those that didn't get reported. I would assume I wasn't there when it happened. Mine got reported. Collision repair, according to State Farm Insurance and AAA, averages $5,100 per accident per deer. Of 161 accidents, that's $821,000 that insurance companies or vehicle owners had to pay in 18 months out of this city. The numbers do not reflect rental car costs for up to 30 days in some cases, or loss of time by the vehicle owner while in repair. There's also a substantial cost by HPD when we're working 160 run deer crashes. I had two officers, 2 squad cars and 2 officers at the time that we were hit 3 months ago on the scene. When you total all costs from removal, repair, rental, time lost, and HPD involvement, the value would total well over $1 million. I could show you 145, 121 or 821 there, and I'm sure the other would rental cars and everything else would come up with over $1 million for 18-month period. So I think it's important that the deer committee really look at bringing some strong suggestions of what to do to help the population get better, get smaller. I know we passed an ordinance about feeding the deer at one time. It doesn't matter whether you feed the deer or you don't feed the deer. The deer are going to breed. There's going to be deer here. You can feed them, make them fatter. You can feed them, get them going in patterns they shouldn't be going in. I can, if anybody wants to look at the deer on my cell phone, I have a whole repertoire of pictures of deer. I travel 100 miles and pay several $100s each year to lease the place to spend time with deer. And I have bigger deer than my backyard than I've ever seen on that lease. I mean, these are substantial sized bucks. So they're pretty to look at, but they do cause damage when they hit a car. So I'm not talking about foliage. I know a couple of my constituents are up here at their last meeting talking about that. That is a problem. They eat everything in sight. I mean, that's what God created them to do, and that's what they do. They reproduce and they eat green, they eat a lot. And but literally it's becoming a danger for the folks in this city. I can show you pictures of my car, and this is not about me. This just kind of moved me on to where I was. That one of the deer that hit me hit right 2 inches below the window. If she'd have jumped, she'd have came through the window. So I consider myself blessed and lucky to get through that.
Yeah.
But I just think it's a serious enough problem. We need to start a committee discussion about it. We need to let Bowman take a look at it, safety committee, and ask our deer herd monitoring committee to come up with some solutions. Let's quit talking and come up with something to do. Whether that's relocate, call. I noticed in their minutes that they had one of the solutions was invite an open hunt to happen in the city. I would suggest on TV that doesn't happen, that we don't have an open deer hunt in the city of Hendersonville. We've already had some bad press about a deer getting shot with a crossbow back on Indian Lake this year. Bow season opens in 2 weeks. You'll have people using bow and arrow in the city of Hendersonville. Most of you know that. So I just think it's become a major safety issue. If you don't want to take it and make a recommendation, then that's fine with me. These are just my feelings. These are numbers from the Public Works Department. AAA and Farm Bureau Insurance are pretty accurate on their estimates, and HPD's worked 161. So these are pretty strong facts. Gladly in front of you, Mr. Waters.
Does anybody else in here have problems with the deer in their location? You do? You do? I don't, but I can sympathize with what he's saying. Who's on that committee? Do you know the names?
Oliver Berry is the chairman, but that committee's turned over some, so I do not know who's on it.
Jim Flockenshire is one of the other members.
Yeah.
Jim Flockenshire.
Flockenshire.
Are they doing what they was assigned to do as far as the? I don't know. I'm just asking the question.
I think so. I think they, back early on, Oliver's been chairing that committee since it started. I was actually on that committee early on, and we made some recommendations to Bowman. Bowman did not want to follow through with those recommendations at that time. I understand that. This is a touchy subject. There's not much middle road here. You either love them or you don't like them, and I'm kind of in the middle, actually.
What's that state name corporation?
TWRA.
They came to one of our meetings.
TWRA.
They did. Do they have any solutions or any suggestions that we can bring before the?
Well, at that time, the TWRA recommended that we do a United States Department of Agriculture cull or deer. So,
Fly over something?
a cull.
Oh, call. Somebody said to me something about a flyover, and they had them cornered in certain parts of the city. This has been 4 or 5 years ago.
That was the original survey. We asked that to be done. The second survey that was done was a drive around survey.
Yeah.
You drove and you stopped and you counted deer. And I can tell you,
They said we had 86 deer in the city.
do what?
They said we had 86 deer in the city. They must follow
Yeah,
me
was it
around all
86?
day, all of them. That's just ridiculous.
I can tell you a local pastor here that not too long ago, he and his grandchildren left his house, took a ride down one side of the peninsula, and up the other side of the peninsula. He was just working with his grandkids on counting in addition, and counted 147 deer in that trip. I counted 60. My wife and I did, from Lake Terrace Boulevard to my house the other night. 60, that's less than a mile. And it's like this, so. At that time, there may have been 86, but as I showed
That's
you
not-
here,
It was wrong.
as
that's
I showed you here, though, we've increased by 100% since 6 months last year.
Well, according to this, all of them have been hit by a car. Every one of them. I mean, that survey was wrong. No, it was wrong.
I agree with you. That was then, and this is now, and, you know, so.
What do you recommend, Mr. Chairman?
I recommend that that we as a committee recommend the safety committee take this up, and that we recommend to the deer monitoring committee, and I know I saw in the minutes, I think they had the TWRA local representative coming back, that they come to Boma with some hard,
Yeah.
and it'll be hard, decision-making points of what to do about our deer population. Not everybody's gonna be happy about this, whatever it is, you know.
But I don't have them in my neighborhood, but I certainly agree with you.
The farther you get off the peninsulas, there's more ground there is, you know, this peninsula. And both of them, if you get toward the back, a deer not gonna jump in the lake and swim in Mount Judy. You know,
We gotta teach them and.
well, you can have a class.
Get them a wide.
Let's have a different video.
Well, yeah, well, both of my neighborhoods, they used to live up on Buckhaven.
Yeah.
I counted at least 13 one time in the neighborhood. and
Yeah.
Now I live over in
I'm
Millstone.
certain-
A couple big bucks came by the other night.
I'm for it, and I have no problem with it, but I've certainly.
I have people talk to me all the time about it, so it's just. It's a subject nobody wants to touch, but I think we've got to touch it. We've got to ask that committee to do something beyond just talk. You know, in the next couple of months, they need to make a recommendation. I think our citizens deserve that.
I agree.
If you look at those numbers again, the rut's gonna start in about another month,
Mhm.
and the bucks are gonna be chasing the does, and the does are gonna be
Running out in front of the car.
leading the bucks, and they're gonna be running in front of cars because sometimes boys don't use good sense. I don't say that, to what my wife would say, boys don't use good sense.
But October, November.
But if you look at the numbers in October, November, and December of last year, 17, 23, and 21, that was a third of the year up there.
Who picks up these carcases?
We have a company that that picks up the carcasses for us. They charge us $223.92 for one they pick up,
Each one?
every one.
Do you see them much in the park, Sandy?
all the time. One of them hit my city truck in the middle of Gallatin Road
Oh, my.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Almost killed me.
Kill you? Really, that bad?
Had an antler sticking out of my drawer window.
I'm just naive. about
Right in front of the red
situation,
roof.
because I'm not around it, but I can certainly understand. Watching no TV, I guess it's the closest thing I can get to it.
It's good.
It's TV.
And I think they've had a big year. I see so many pairs of
Lot of
Twins,
bonds,
lot of
lots of bonds.
many.
I can show you pictures of them. I pulled in the house 2 weeks ago in the backyard with 8 fawns. One doe.
Gracious.
She was in babysitting service, I guess. There was 8 fawns and 1 doe.
Is that good eating? I mean,
I'm not talking about food right now. I'm talking about safety.
you're making me hungry.
Citizens.
Well, one of the things other locations do is call the herd and they donate the food to food pantries.
Yeah. They put it in Venison and donated to food pantries, like Second Harvest and stuff.
Oh, getting aside, Mr. Chairman, I second your motion.
Okay, so all I would like to do is get a recommendation from this committee that I move these numbers and figures on to Boma in our report tonight.
Yeah.
And send Oliver a copy of them and request that he utilize them and bring them to his committee. And just try to make our city a little bit safer place. And, you know, when the insurance companies are paying out $821,000, rates go up. for people.
Maybe we could invite one of those adjusters. Maybe they got some solutions. I don't know. You know, insurance
They're
adjusters.
just insurance folks, you know, they sell insurance, they adjust.
I mean, they're
Like
just,
chips.
I don't know. But
The last time, I guess 4.5 or so years ago, when this came up before Boma, it seemed there was not the political will to make a decision. How can we make that work better this time? Having this,
Spades, the only thing I can tell you is I'll give you factual numbers. And if you're eating something that is causing you illness, this is probably for example, and you double your intake of that, you're gonna get sicker.
Yeah.
Double intake here has increased 100%, and we'll look at these numbers I get in December. I won't be on this board at that time. But you can look at these numbers you get in December, and I guarantee it's gonna be almost 100% for the entire year. So I don't know.
I may suggest, Mr. Chairman, we had petitions coming for Boma. I think that gets my attention. When you start talking
Yes.
about your experience.
yes, sir. I agree.
I start feeding my phone calls to you since you don't get much deer problem.
I don't get any.
Start feeding my phone.
And I don't need yours either, but I'm not getting anything.
I guess I just want us to encourage the committee that, if they'll make strong recommendations, that this board wants to solve this problem, and we appreciate their strong recommendations, whatever that is.
Yeah, I mean, I can make recommendations from the board, but I think we appointed a committee
Yeah, oh, yeah.
to do some work and do some investigating and bring solutions in. And
It's gonna cost some money, but it's also costing to do nothing.
Look, the money we paid out for the Clark.
it's gonna cost more money.
Okay,
That's all I'm asking. If y'all are good with that, then I'll make that part of my report tonight.
so move.
Same here.
Thanks, sir.
I agree.
Take a look at turn.
Adjourned.
All right.
Thank you.
Steve, I had one that ended up on Saundersville Road, more or less in my backyard, and